demo their tools for 10 minutes, and we'll hold questions till the end so that we can go through and smoothly go through the process. So the first presenter we're going to have is Purnima, is up from ID Insights. Will present on Evidential, an open source tool to enable rapid and rigorous evaluation and learning for digital and AI interventions. The floor is yours.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Purnima. I'm from ID Insight. We are a global not-for-profit. We provide a wide range of data and evidence services to other NGOs, governments, and funding organizations. I'm going to be talking to you today about Evidential, which is an experiments engine for other nonprofits. This is something that we've built alongside the agency fund. I imagine that over the last 2 days in this conference, we've heard a lot of different AI tools, and many people are talking about how are we supposed to know where bias and uncertainty in this tool is? How do we make sure there are humans in the loop? How do I know where the tool can go wrong? And all of this, I think, really boils down to one fundamental question. How do I know that my digital tool is doing the thing I want it to do? And Evidential is meant to help answer that question. It is an active development, so I won't say that we've 100% succeeded, but we are trying. Okay, so while you're trying to answer this question of how is my tool doing the thing I think it's doing, what we find very often with our partners is that they have a capacity issue in trying to answer this, right? You need engineers, statisticians, your M&E team, potentially whoever is talking to your funder, all to work together to try and answer this question. And you cannot dedicate all of these resources at the same time while you're also trying to do your implementation and put out fires as they come up. It also the pace at which AI tools or digital tools in general tend to move, you need to have a lot of collaboration happening in real time in order for you to track these changes and respond to them appropriately. And finally, if you're implementing a digital solution, they already live on other platforms, right? We've got partners who work on Turn.io, work with Survey CTO, work with Comcare, Glyphic, a bunch of different other tools, and existing experimentation tools like PostHog or SIG don't play well with the tech stack that we in the development sector work with. And so what we're trying to do with Evidential is to try and solve some of these issues. And so basically the features of Evidential that we hope will move towards solving some of these problems are, first, is that it is free and open source. We have about 20 organizations over the course of developing this tool that have used it for free, and we're hoping to get more organizations to use it and give us feedback. It is also open source, so you could deploy it for yourself. We tried to make it as simple to set up and use as possible, and we're trying to support many different experiment types and integration with platforms that people within the sector already use. I've said a lot of things. I think it would be easier to just show you how it works. So before I show you how it works, let's just do a little thought experiment. Imagine I'm from an edtech organization. I send out content to students to help with learning outcomes, and I want them to engage with this content by asking me questions. And what I'm doing right now is I'm simply copy pasting pieces of text from textbooks, and students don't seem to like that. So I want to figure out what else I could be doing to get these students to engage. So what I've done on Evidential is to set up an experiment where I've got, sorry, let me try and see if I can increase the. So essentially, I'm going to be sending out a fact about climate change. And the way I hope that they're engaging with it is to see whether they asked a question or not after I presented the fact. What I'm doing is I've set up this experiment in a way where I've got the usual textbook version of the fact, but occasionally I'm going to send out something that tells a story instead. Or given that I'm working with young students, potentially Gen Z, I might do it in a TikTok version, right? And what we're going to do now is we're going to pretend all of you are students. I'm going to be running the experiment with you, and hopefully we can track in real time what the results of that experiment are. So what I will ask all of you to do is to scan this QR code that I will put up and follow the prompts. Oh, good. Everyone have access? Okay, let me switch back to us tracking the experiment. Nice. So I see we've got a few participants already. I'm going to switch to the live view. Okay, okay. Interesting. Reload the page to be. Okay, as you can see, I already have a sense of how many people got what version of the tool. Oh, sorry, of the fact. And let me switch back to live view. And we see some results starting to come in. Nice. No one really likes the textbook version. Most people like the story-based version, but it seems that TikTok works a lot. I guess all of you spend a lot of time scrolling, huh? Okay. Anyone still working through the prompts? Guess not. Okay. So hopefully you have a sense of what evidential would look like on for your potential beneficiaries. What this essentially lets me do now is, as a result of having run this experiment, I now know that I should potentially be presenting facts to a cohort in a TikTok-like version, because that's the thing that gets me the most engagement. And this is potentially a decision that I could log here. I would say this is somewhat a medium impact experiment, because I don't think I have a solid winner between the TikTok and story-based version, but I know I shouldn't be giving you textbooks, that I should be using the TikTok or the gamified version instead. Let me show you how I set up this experiment, and hopefully this is going to be a good way to have an introduction to how this works. So this is what the evidential platform looks like. Imagine you're from the M&E team of your organization. You click on create an experiment, you put in the experiment name, you describe your hypothesis. You can figure out how long you want to run your experiment. If you've got a design document that is a bit more extensive, you can also log it here. And then the next thing you want to do is, this is what I said about offering different experiment types. You can do A/B testing. If you've got a preset cohort of users, you want to partition them across a bunch of different arms, and then you present them to your users. You observe data, you make a decision at the end of it. Sometimes we're working in a resource constrained setting, so you might want to do bandits instead. I won't get into the details of how that works, but essentially you optimize your decision as the experiment progresses. So every time you observe that someone likes one version of an arm versus another, you're making updates instead of waiting for the experiment to finish. I'm going to pick this version for now to show you what comes next. You basically put in the different arms the variants that you want. In my case, this was the textbook version, the TikTok version, and the story-based version. And then the next thing you want to do is connect a data source. Ideally, you have a database where you're already collecting some of this data. If you don't, there are ways to use evidential still, but this is the easiest way to show you what happens. I've connected a few existing data sources, so I'll just pick one at random. You can do that. And then you also have to figure out which particular set of users you're going to be working with. Once that's done, you pick which metric it is that you actually care about for your users that you want to optimize for. In my case, it was engagement. In this case, it could be some sort of behavior flag. I'm just going to pick one at random. And then what Evidential also does is, whoa, this is a big database, sorry guys. You can add filters and strata and so on and so forth. But once you've done that, it can also run power calculations for you on the back end. So you're not stuck doing those sorts of calculations for whether your experiment is going to give you a significant result or not. And once you're done, you've set it up, you've saved the experiment, and that's it. You're ready to get going. What we then do is we have something called an integration guide that gives you an API key and a bunch of different IDs that you can use to integrate with existing platforms. As I said, we've built out some integration features for third-party tools like Turn.io, and we're actively adding more to them. Another thing that I'll mention is that we are actively recruiting users, and so we want this to be a community developed tool. So we would like as much as possible to be able to get feedback. And if you tell us, hey, this is the thing that we really want, then we try our best to build them out. Turn.io is one such feature. We had a lot of organizations asking us for that integration, which is why we built it out. If you're interested in learning more or want to try out the platform for yourself, please do let us know. That's the QR code that you can scan to get more information, or you can email us at support@evidential.dev. I'm also around here today and tomorrow. Please do come by if you have more questions. I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Purnima. I think we need to make more TikTok and platform style content for IC50 2027 or 8. We'll see. So that was interesting insight to see. Up next, we have a presentation by Lars from BAO. The presentation will be on the tool called Convo AI, which is a conversational analytics powered by AI.
Even engineers need tech support these days. All right. Hi everyone. I'm Lars from BAO Systems. And at BAO Systems, we have been working with health information systems now for many, many years. And we are seeing a lot of commonality in some of the problems that we face in the countries. And I think the problem these days is not that we have too little data. I think the problem is typically that we have too much data. And we also know that information systems, they do tend to get sort of overloaded over time. So if you log into a HMIS in a major African country, you will typically be greeted with a ton of dashboards. There will be hundreds of dashboards. And finding the right one, the one you're looking for, is becoming increasingly a bigger problem. So we know that also this sort of notion of self-service BI, you just go in and create your own visualization, is often easier said than done, right? People have typically a hard time using BI tools, visualization tools. Sometimes there's a million buttons to click, and it's hard to train people. It's hard for people to navigate. We also know that many dashboards are repetitive. I mean, a lot of dashboards there's the big numbers, there's the line charts, there's the column charts, and so forth. But still, we keep kind of developing the same dashboards over and over and over. So basically, at BAO Systems, we were thinking, what can we learn from the major trends these days? And I think the big things these days obviously are, AI assistants like Gemini and ChatGPT. There's social media with Instagram and LinkedIn and so forth that sort of everyone knows how to use, right? Everyone find it easy to use. With ChatGPT, you go and ask a question in natural text. You don't have to be an expert. If you need to create an image these days, you don't have to be an expert in Photoshop. You go in, you type in natural text, and you get your image back. Same thing with social media. I think it was already alluded to this in the previous presentation, that people are addicted to scrolling. They open their feeds, and they are getting like more or less useful information, right? So at least allegedly relevant information to them. And there's nothing they have to do. They just open their feeds and they get the data, right? So what we're thinking at BAO is like, how can we learn from these things and apply it in our field, essentially? So what we did was to build a new app for our enterprise intelligence platform called Convo. Convo is a conversational analytics app for DHIS2. So it's really an AI-powered data assistant. You can go in, you can ask questions in natural text. It really understands what you're asking for. It talks to the DHIS2 that it's connected to, and it creates meaningful visualizations automatically. So let me dive quickly into a demo. So once again, like we started by thinking the simplest interface that could be is just an input field. It's like, what is your data question, right? What do you want to know? And here we can then go and take a few prompts. I prepared a few prompts here. So now we can ask things like, show me the number of ANC firsts, if you can read this. Second, third, fourth visit for Mumbali, Kenema, and Mumbali for Mumbai for the last 12 months. This is the Sierra Leone database for DHIS2. We click go, and the system very quickly identifies the right data elements. Let me zoom in a little bit. It finds the right data elements, as we call it in DHIS2, the right ordinates, which are typically like districts, facilities. It understands that we are asking for the last 12 months. And then it says, here's the data for ANC 1, 2, 3, 4. It also understands that since we're asking for the last 12 months, it makes sense to create a line chart, right? So we create a line chart that shows you the trend over time for those particular districts. You can scroll down. It automatically creates a bar chart that combines and compares the different districts to each other. We can go down. We get a variety of visualizations, like a sunburst chart, pie chart, and so forth, and it goes on. And finally, we also get a textual interpretation and description of the data. So many people are not skilled in data analysis. They don't really know how to interpret the chart. So some people like to just read, right? You can go here and say, okay, we can see that Kenema consistently reports the highest volume ANC across all 4 categories. So people can then simply go and read, as opposed to having to be trained to kind of read a chart. I can show you this super quick, a few more prompts. So we can say, show me an overview of ANC first, and now we can also include the second visit coverage for Mumbali and Kenema. For those who know DHIS2, you will know that this is an indicator. And the system automatically says, okay, here's an overview. And now we get a dual axis chart, for example. So we have the raw data on the left, and then we have the percentages on the right. So we automatically create those kind of sort of intelligent charts that there's actually no need to go and create manually over and over. Rather, it's better to provide it sort of on demand when someone needs it. On the left here, you can also see the chat history. So you can also go back very quickly and check your past questions just by clicking on the conversation here on the left side. So we can quickly restore like this. All right. So this is good, right? This is good. People can go, they can ask questions. The problem is that sometimes people don't even know what to ask, right? It's always a challenge. People might want to wonder, this is great, but what should I ask, right? So we try to take it even further and take a cue from social media. So for example, again, like if you log into LinkedIn, you're getting like more or less personalized content that is supposed to be relevant to you, right? So we thought we can do something similar. So The data feed inside the Convo app is really based on a concept of topics. So you start by creating topics. If you know DHIS2, we associate topics with what we call data elements, indicators, program indicators in DHIS2. And then we assign topics to people to get the whole system started. After that, people can go and self-assign and follow and unfollow different topics. We have a lightweight ranking in the backend. Ranking simply means creating a feed that is personalized to you, showing you what we think is the most relevant data for you based on your activity and based on your topics that have been assigned. We also go and create meaningful visualizations and interpretations. So we try to look at the data structure that comes back and create sensible visualization. And very often, simple is better, right? People don't really want this super fancy visualization. They want to go with the line charts and the bar chart that really makes sense to them. So let's have a quick look. So now if you click on the feed on the top left corner, we can now quickly see that the system, because I've been setting up the system for myself, I've assigned myself to topics for immunization and antenatal care as an example. And based on that, we get a personalized feed. It's also with like a newspaper style title that's supposed to be engaging and tell you something about the data. For example, here it says, Bumbali leads regional tetanus vaccination coverage across the districts. So if you are a district manager for districts in Sierra Leone, now you get information automatically provided to you. So we can see the trend. We can see how the districts compare automatically. We can look at the sunburst chart, and we get a textual interpretation that says data reveals fluctuation in tetanus toxoid vaccination coverage across the different districts. Notably, Bumbali experienced a substantial surge in TT1 doses, et cetera, et cetera. So once again, people can go and read. They don't really have to be skilled in data analysis. I can go on and scroll. So I can scroll down, immunization coverage trends across these districts. So this is my immunization topic. You can see this. This is similar like the Instagram handle where you can sort of follow different people. Instead, here we can follow different topics, in this case, within public health. And again, we get a textual representation, and it goes on and on and on. And hopefully people can get it, instead of wasting their time on Instagram, they can now spend their time scrolling about their public health. So we're trying to emulate the same behavior to get people to kind of spend more time looking at the data in a simpler way. And it goes on and on and on, and you can keep scrolling, and so on, so on, so on. All right. So to summarize, like what we're trying to do is really to make information accessible and engaging. I do believe that data these days is too hard to find. There's too much information. You log in, and there's 1,000 dashboards. They all start with 001, 002. Hard to find which one do I pick, right? I think you all had the feeling when you log in somewhere, you're looking for something specific, but you can't find it. So we're trying to make it super simple, either by using natural text or by simply giving you the data based on your preferences. We also know that training is hard, right? Like there's turnover, it's expensive, you have to travel, retraining, it's difficult, right? So by making it very intuitive, borrowing from the known concepts of social media and AI assistants, we think that we can piggyback on the things that people already know and then reuse that knowledge as opposed to have to go and retrain people all the time. And we want to take a cue from the social media to make it engaging, right? Give them a title, tell them something interesting, right? Make sure they pick up their phone just to check what's going on, right? The same way we pick up the phone to look at New York Times or the local newspaper, we want people to pick up the phone and just to check what's going on in my district. We want to make it engaging in the same way to kind of take data analysis away from the complicated BI tools straight into people's pockets like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lars. I think we're seeing a common theme between the presentations. We need to have much more, continue to have engaging, easy to access platforms and tools and social media feeds. I like the idea of a public health social media. Up next, we're going to have Cameron and Sarah from Propel, who are going to come up and present on a session titled From Fragmented Data to Shared Learning, demonstrating the AI-supported organizational memory through the app. Propel.
You just get one? Cool.
I think so. All right. I hope you can hear us. All right. Thanks for coming, everyone. And we'll try to take you on a bit of a story to not make it too dry and technical, but bear with us because my animation skills are not the greatest. But so happy to present to you more about our platform, Propel. And I want to start by just, setting a little bit the scene. I think we all know that, we're facing a bit of a difficult time in the sector. There's overlapping crises. At the same time, like Lars said, there's a lot of information going around. And, humanitarian response is under a lot of pressure, and so is development effectiveness. What we're also seeing at the same time is that teams and organizations are generating a lot of lessons all the time. Most of that is qualitative data about, what worked, why did it work, why did it not work, maybe. But the problem is that a lot of this data actually doesn't get captured in a good way. So we have good systems for quantitative data, but qualitative data about the why often sort of gets left behind. And so I'm Sarah, one of the co-founders of Propel, joined by Cameron, and we thought about, a way to do that better so that we can actually see, how today's lessons could help us solve some of tomorrow's challenges. Because what we heard from a lot of organizations is that they don't know what they don't know, because a lot of the knowledge sits with people in their minds, or doesn't really get captured because these are qualitative lessons, harder to capture, or they make it into some documents and are sitting then somewhere on a local file, but not really connected. And so we wanted to think about, okay, how can this be done better? And that's what we'll show you a little bit today. And just to get you started, I want you to close your eyes for a second. Think about a recent key insight, something that someone told you where you're like, oh, wow, this is really important. Maybe something that went well, a challenge that someone faced, where you're like, okay, I should remember this for something in the future. Okay, you can come back to me. And now think about, where did this lesson go? Most likely, what we've seen from the organizations we work with is that these kind of insights get stuck in, random Post-it notes, random documents on local folders, or if you're lucky, they make it into some midterm or end-term report. But then there again, they go to die because they're stuck in this report kind of forever. And so for us, we thought about, okay, how can we do this better? And I want to take you on a bit of a story with an example. So imagine a team in South Sudan who are out and about, doing the work. And in one of the reflection sessions as a team, a lesson came up. And they learned that local peace committees were better able to interpret conflict dynamics and predictive models alone. Now, this is not a lesson that we made up. This is actually one that we extracted from a lessons learned report from an organization doing the actual work. But again, usually this sits in a report, and we wanted to see, okay, what can we do with this better? And so instead of this, getting stuck there, because it is an important insight that could tell us a lot about, what worked, what didn't work, what did we learn, what can we do better next time? It is one of these experience-based, qualitative data points that may just stay in this person's mind or stay in this team meeting or in the minutes of meeting. And so Cameron will now take you through a little bit what this can look like if it goes into a collaborative platform where it becomes part of a collective intelligence system.
Yeah, so for this, we built Propel, a tool that allows you to quickly capture your insights, your knowledge, and all your qualitative data in a very quick and easy way. In a structured way, actually, I should say. You can capture your tags for the information, topics, locations, topics. Just let it run through. Learning domains, sources, outcomes, and content types. No, it's fine. Yeah. You would then capture the context of the findings in different formats. We have different formats for each of these capturings, and your successes, your challenges, and your learnings, all again in a very structured way. Propel then matches those insights to your learning agenda and quickly assigns the knowledge in the correct area of the system. Once that's created, next, sorry. The lesson now becomes a shared memory. And you can capture this across all of your projects and all of your locations over the world, which then become a collective knowledge base for your entire organization, for which we built this knowledge map. You can start by exploring the knowledge map by topics or locations, or each of the different tags, and then filter further for connected insights, like we've done here with South Sudan, which these are the connected topics. If you then click that, you can see the synthesized data across all of these dynamically connected data points, allowing you to see the insights that were captured, synthesized across all this data. Comparisons across each of the topics, if you've selected such, patterns and trends in the data, allowing you to see more. Clicking sources, you can then see, so you have data provenance as well. You understand where your data is coming from, and you can look into that data more accurately if you need to do so. There's also knowledge gaps and also potential actions you could take to further your exploration of this knowledge, or actions to gain more knowledge and decisions to make. And of course, you can chat with your knowledge. In today's age of AI, this makes the most sense. So if you wanted to drill down further into more accurate, more specific topics that you wanted to ask it about, you could do so. And it gives a beautifully formatted answer. You can compare different contexts that you specify that you want to ask. You can also give it specific tasks based on your knowledge, like I want to create a report based on this and this. And then it becomes collective intelligence.
Yeah, so the whole idea is that you really sort of create or put together knowledge as a resource that you can use, and also as kind of a public good for the sector that we can use within organizations, and potentially also at some point across organizations. But so really that these lessons become actually a livable resource for us to build on, so that we can really, as a sector, as organizations, as teams, build on all the knowledge that we already have. And of course, we want to support this with Propel, with the platform that we have, and make it available so that it actually can become the knowledge infrastructure that we think the sector needs. And just to have some fun with it, what we've been doing for this conference, but also some other conferences that we've been going to this year, and we're actually just documenting the lessons and insights and experiences that we're seeing as a team, Cameron, me, and some other of our team members. And we're putting it into one public space in Propel. So we have a public conference space where you can actually go to that, sign up through the QR code, and we send you a login code, and then you can actually experience this yourself. You can go to this knowledge map that Cameron just showed you, and then also just interact with the knowledge so that you can get a sense of how this would work. And the whole idea is, that just like within organizations, we don't want the lessons from these conferences be forgotten after 2 days, but to actually make sure that we build on them and we really build collective knowledge together. And so this is the example that we want to make available to all of you to play around and also let us know what you think. So yeah,
Thanks.
I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you so much, Cameron. I am definitely going to sign up for this one. Thank you. Up next is going to be our last presenter. Joining us from Avanade Labs will be Pablo, presenting on a demo today called Cheaper, Faster, and Safer, Avanade's novel architecture for data management. The floor is yours.
Sorry. Thanks. Let's see if we can get it. Do I start now? Get this. All right. Okay, so I'll just leave. I only have the one slide, and then it's just a demo. But good afternoon, everyone. Good seeing you. Also amazing platforms from everyone else. Thank you so much for the presentations. So I'm the founder and CEO of Avanade Labs. We just launched 3 weeks ago, only 1 year old as a company. We're a very new data management platform built for the social sector. I have an MPH. Most of my experience has been on the side of humanitarian health and public health as a software engineer, and that's what led me to found this company. And the truth be told is that I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And the reason I'm exhausted isn't from building a company, but it's because of the whole last year, as you all know, the social sector, public health, international development's just been under attack constantly. And what we have right now is a reality where organizations have to do 2 times the work with half of the resources. There's budget cuts, there's layoffs, all of that's happening, and people have to keep doing all of that work. And what also is happening is that local communities are now more important than ever. Because of all the conflicts that are happening around the world, it's the local communities, the ones that are leading most of the impact that's happening. But one of the problems that local communities usually are very resource constrained. They cannot go out there and pay for the $75 per month per user per month that, say, Tableau would cost. A lot of them do not have the experience to be able to integrate data into Tableau and know how to work with that. And that is one of the big problems here. And then usually a lot of the funders that would help them are now being defunded by governments around the world. And so it's just a whole escalation of problems right now. And so one of the things that we built Avanar for was to basically think small now. There's so many platforms, so many solutions out there focusing on big data and on big organizations, but there is still a lot missing on the side of building technology for resource-constrained organizations. And I'm talking truly resource-constrained. We're talking like teams that are one person, 2 people, 5 people, that aren't even formally incorporated. They're just communities. That's where most of the work is happening. 80% of the social sector is actually organizations that have less than $5 million in budget that are less than 20 employees. That is the majority of the social sector. 80% of the social sector cannot pay $75 or $100 or $150 for Salesforce per user every single month. And so one of the things that we've taken at Avendar is taken a lot of innovations that have happened in the last 5 years and packaged them into a web platform that is optimized for medium scale data. Now, if you don't understand what big data is, we usually think big data is millions of rows or tens of millions. That's not actually big data. Big data has never been defined by an exact number. Big data is just the amount of data that doesn't fit in a traditional database. 15 years ago, that was 10 million rows. Now, that's billions and billions of rows. Your local communities do not have billions of rows. They have at most 1 million or 10 million. The way that you can process that data doesn't require a cloud architecture anymore. It can just be done on your computer. And in the last 5 years, big tech, in their pursuit to move all of their data analysis into the cloud in what they call on the edge, they've developed a lot of innovations that work very well with small, tiny clusters of data, but have it out there just distributed in their centers. If you take a lot of the libraries that they've built, they've accidentally built the perfect stack for resource-constrained teams that work in low connectivity, that can work offline, and that can process data incredibly fast. And so Avendar is an app that takes all of those things and puts it into one app that you can just run on your browser. And so it can work online if you want, but it can actually work offline. You can analyze all your data offline, you can keep it all private, and you can still build dashboards, and you can still share it with your team. And so that is what Avendar was built for the humanitarian organizations or any organization that's out there working low connectivity and that needs to keep their data private, that is working with very sensitive data. So the QR code here, if you scanned it, just takes you to a page where we have a lot more information about it. I was literally still coding features up until 10 minutes ago, so I may have just broken the whole platform again, but bear with me. So you can log into Avendar, you will have just a home page. We have the core features of just like importing data sets, analyzing it, and dashboards. That's kind of what we're going to work through. Let's imagine that I am just, let's say program monitor, not even that, let's just go a little bit just broader than that. Let's just say I'm just researching and analyzing that which we all know, COVID, from the last few years, just because that's a lot of data, and I want to be able to show how easy it is to work with a large data set here. You can always upload your data, or you can connect to Google Sheets or other connectors as people give us feedback, we'll add more. Or there's also an open data catalog where our early users just wanted to have the World Bank's open data just instantly accessible. So you can actually just instantly scroll through it, select World Bank's indicators and add it. If there is any other open data you'd want to see in it, just let me know and we'll add it. So all of the World Bank's development indicators are here. This is 400,000 rows of data. This is actually not touching a server at all, even though I have Wi-Fi right now. You can see a data summary of every single column. They go all the way down. The World Bank really done a good job with all of their open data. And yes, you can also start querying as well. Let's say we do have, as everything must have now, an AI chatbot to help you. This part does require being online if you want that. Let's just actually, and since, let's see if my microphone's working. Since it's hard to type with one hand, you can also, accessibility being a huge priority for us here, you can also just speak voice prompting. Let's say, oh, I haven't downloaded the model for that. All right, no voice prompting. Let's see if I can just get, let's see. Show me all Peru's typing. Show me all of Peru's data. I'm from Peru. So let's do that. You can send this. You can choose whichever model you want to be able to use. We have integrations with all of them. We have open models as well. Right now, just for speed, I'm just using ChatGPT, and we can see all of Peru's data. You can follow up and ask more questions about that, and you can do all of your standard things of just changing the visualization type, seeing line charts and things like that. Right now, to save time, let's move on. I want to be able to show one of the big problems that we've always had, and one thing that has always surprised me, 12 years that I've been working with organizations. Yes, everyone has their data in Salesforce, they have their data lakes, stuff like that, but most of the world is still just Excel sheets. And the biggest problem that everyone has had working with Tableau is they're like, I just didn't know how to get my data in there. So they just quit right away. And here, oh wait, just move somewhere else. It's just, actually, I'm full screen, that's the problem. Let's get one of my data sets. This one is, here's Johns Hopkins data set with just daily COVID deaths in 2022. And you can see it's just instantly got uploaded. Let's say we want even more data. This is actually the daily US data. This one is 440 megabytes, actually, and it is about 4 million rows. I don't know if any of you have ever tried opening that in Excel. It will not open in Excel. You try opening it in a browser, it will probably crash. Whereas in our case, you can just do that, and instantly it works. If you tried this in Tableau, it would take 2 minutes to upload. Whereas here, even though we said the button was upload, it actually never uploaded. It all just stayed on your computer, and that is where it is all being analyzed. So all of your data will stay completely private. You can, if you want, have it uploaded to the cloud if you have teammates that you need to share this with and work with. Otherwise, just click make offline only, and it'll stay offline forever. And yes, all of that becomes queryable at that point. So let's say right now, let's just do one more query. Let's see. Sorry. Both my hands. All right, so just running a query here. And see, since there's a lot of COVID data sets now, it doesn't know which one to use, and so it actually just asks you for clarification. And then I could say, actually, yeah, let's use the global deaths one. We'll confirm. Analyze that. So one thing that was very important for us also was that a lot of people that, especially in resource management teams, may not have experience working with AI, and might think instantly, oh, this will answer everything that I need. And one thing that we've seen with users is that AI responds best when you structure questions in a way that is a bit more step-by-step, in a way that probably like engineers might think or something like that. And a lot of times people are just typing like, show me like the best things that I can do with this, or show me the worst things. And the problem is that is a big opportunity to introduce a lot of bias into the questions. And so that is one thing that we've added into our AI, is the ability to be able to see if you're asking a question that is incredibly ambiguous, it will ask you for clarification. First is a very loaded word. And there's a lot of ways that this can go. And so it will actually, thank God it worked there. So that which measure should define did worst on COVID? So you can actually say if you wanted highest total deaths, peak daily deaths, or something else, or none of the above. Just to say, I'm seeing there's only 2 minutes. So the last thing that obviously everybody needs always is dashboard. So yes, we do have that. Let's just create dashboard and save. You can go to a dashboard, it gets added there. You can use the chatbot, of course, to continue playing around with the dashboard. But right now, let's just save this. And of course, a lot of times when you're building something and you're working to generate a report or send it to people, you do always want to then export it as a PDF. That option's there. Or if you were trying to share it with your team, you can always, oh, it stayed in the loading state, but you can always then play around and add any kind of annotation to it and export that as a PDF. In my case, let's just publish this and add that. So I say publish, it does get published publicly because that is what our users have wanted right now. We are right now adding the ability to publish privately just for your teammates, but you can verify for yourself that this is published. Anyone can go to that QR code and you'll actually just see the dashboard that I just built right now. And the important thing is lots of times when you're doing all of this work, you suddenly might find that your Wi-Fi died, you're out of data, or usually you're in a refugee center, or there's been a hurricane or a typhoon and the data's down, but you still need to be able to do this. One of the great things of Avandar actually is it will all still work offline. So you can still go ahead and continue querying your data. Hold on. Let's see this one, country name. Or I did not cache the data, so that's the problem here. Oh wait, I was just covering it. I was just covering the data. So yeah, you can still continue to query all of your data and see everything that you would have wanted there. And if you're wondering, well, does that mean I can't use AI anymore? That's actually not true. You can, because we do have this ability to download a local model, provided you have at least 8 GB of RAM on your computer, which is the by far the average at this point. We have different models you can download to the browser. While they're not fantastic, they are able to at least build very simple queries. If you're just wondering, like, can I see malaria per province, or can I see COVID per day? It can build the queries for that entirely offline. In this case, I had not downloaded the offline model because the Wi-Fi is not great here, but that means you would still be able to use AI if you just downloaded the model ahead of time. You don't have to save it anywhere. It just stays on your browser. You can refresh and it'll still be able to work offline. You can still use AI in that case. So that is Avandar. Everything we've planned around here is making sure that your data stays safe, that it can be processed faster than any of the big tech teams, because we've optimized for the data scales that your organizations actually face on a day-to-day basis, which is, for most organizations, actually not billions of rows. It is millions of rows, something that you can actually do for a lot cheaper. So just to end it here, one thing is that I'm just going to put out there, Tableau is $75 per user per month. In our case, there is no contract required to work here. It's just subscription-based. You can just go online. We have a free plan, and the paid plan is $4 per user per month. So it is intended to be something that resource-constrained teams can actually afford and work with. So if you wanted a demo or you wanted to speak to me, just come find us. But thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Pablo. We do have a few minutes for questions. If anybody wanted to ask questions to any of the presenters who presented today, we'll take probably 2 or 3 questions before we wrap up.
Thank you all for the presentation.
Maybe I'll ask the speakers to go up front. Maybe it makes it easier. Thanks, Cameron, for flagging that.
Just a very quick question. Given the sort of diverse communities and sort of global users that we have, when you're looking at AI, does your solution support sort of internalization, like multiple languages? And if it does, to what extent is the sophistication of those languages to each of the panelists? So multiple languages.
You go first.
Yeah, because there wasn't time to show it because I didn't have the model downloaded, but actually the platform is already 100% translated in English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Arabic, Swahili, and Mandarin. And I actually am conversational in 6 of those 7, and I wanted to actually show that I could query by speaking in all of them. But there's not enough time for that. And that was really just because it would have been fun for me. So it is translated, and the voice transcription works in all of those languages as well. And if your data goes down, the voice transcription still works because it is a local model.
Okay, I can go next. For us, I mean, what we see a lot with organizations that we work with, especially when it comes to learning and sharing knowledge, people really feel most comfortable if they can actually share knowledge in their own language and then also access it in whatever language they need. And so that's what we want to facilitate with Propel, and which is also possible. So for the platform itself, that you can, capture things in your own language. So we worked with teams also testing this who were learning in French and in English, different country teams. They put it in their language, and then you can also ask the chat in whatever language you want, and it will give you the output in the language that you need. So that you kind of flatten the structure and take away these gatekeepers that oftentimes make it less accessible.
Yep, I mean the app I demoed today sort of piggybacks on the translation system of DHIS2, and DHIS2 comes already translated to I think almost 20 languages now, and it's used in 105 countries or something like that across the world. So internationalization was very much part of it from the beginning. DHIS2 even supports things like the Nepali calendar and the Ethiopian calendar, which I don't think many other software actually exists, and it's quite tricky to support, but we're doing our best.
We'll go all the way in the back.
Hi, thanks everyone for your amazing demos. They were all really interesting. I'd like to ask all of you to let us know what are the most complicated analyses that each of your platforms can do, either the quantitative analytics that could be run or qualitative based on the qualitative data.
Yeah, I'll start first. Qualitative data, full stop. It's very hard to process qualitative data and extract. One of the things we're really working on is the ability to extract quantitative views from qualitative data. So that's actually been the most tricky thing that we've had to deal with. Things like semantic tagging and that kind of thing, those are quite tricky. Easy to do when you know how to do them, but they can be quite tricky, and their results often vary. Yeah, next.
Yeah, so it's a tricky question. Not, if I had to be honest, depends on what you define as complicated analyses. You can do multi-step analyses, but one of the, by design, limitations here is that the AI is that when we send your queries out, we never ever send your raw data, which then limits the amount of analyses that an AI can do. And that is by design to protect people's data. So the way that you saw all of the AI queries working and the way we've designed it is that the only thing we send to the AI actually is the names of your columns, what the data types are, and the descriptions if you enter the description for the column. And what the AI gives back is just a SQL query. This is something that we can do that other big can't, because we don't run your queries in a server. We ran it all in the browser. So we can get away with that with an AI never seeing it. So the way we do complicated analyses is if you ask a question that the AI determines, oh, this is complicated, it will prepare a query plan, a multi-step query, and send that plan back to you. But then you have to approve if this plan makes sense. And we are working right now on then also like translating the SQL to human readable language for people that just can't understand SQL. But it means that we will never take the approach of just ask a question, get the answer. For us, it's ask a question, get the method, and then you have to decide if that is appropriate for your organization and your question.
Thanks. On Evidential, there's no large language model underpinning the platform. It is meant to be for experimentation. And so most of the complicated stuff that we're running is statistical calculations that we want to offload. It is a huge cognitive burden for M&E teams to work with their tech teams to implement a lot of these calculations in-house. So we've offloaded a lot of that onto the platform. So it's running those complex calculations for you. And then for the optimized experiment versions, we're running reinforcement learning, which is a variant of machine learning algorithms, but isn't necessarily generative AI like large language models. So those are the most complicated things we're doing at the moment.
Yep, good question. So the app that I demoed today is intended to be simple and not do very complicated things. At BO, we're developing, this is actually part of a larger platform at BO. We're working on a platform called the BO Intelligence Platform. We're having a small demo tomorrow, if anyone's interested. And there we are definitely targeting sophisticated statistical analysis. This platform is really about like ELT. So we load all the data into the platform in its raw format. And then we allow data scientists, data analysts to manipulate the data using the tools they know, which are typically SQL, R, and Python. And we also have text to SQL. You can ask natural text questions and get SQL queries back. You can also ask natural questions and get even like Python, full Python scripts and like lightweight data science done by natural text. So that is, and at BO, like we don't really believe in like building features for absolutely everything. I think at DHIS2, like we tried over the years to accommodate the most common use cases. I mean, a lot of analysis we do in this space, it's really just counting, right? Like you count things and you slice it by, you know, district, and you slice it by month, and you slice it by age and gender and so on. It's not really like advanced statistics, a lot of it, right? Maybe some people do. I don't mean to speak down on anyone, but at the analytical platform, we try to kind of make data analysis available to sort of data scientist type of people. So we think of it more as like infrastructure that people can use to build more sophisticated data science using their favorite tool, which are typically, as I said, Python, SQL, and R. And there you can pretty much do anything. Like when you have all the powerful data science libraries in R and Python, there's nothing really stopping you these days. Yep. So that's how we think about it at BO.
I think we had a question in the back.
Yeah, I'll definitely try your app this evening. Yeah, my question has to do with the languages. I just want to find out, in terms of the different languages that you're adding, is it based on business? Is it a business decision, or is it based on available resources? Because we need that clarity in terms of the languages that you're adding. I'll be happy if you can throw more light on. Thank you.
For us, mostly it's a market fit. What languages do our clients need? It's kind of pointless adding, let's say, Mandarin if we don't have any Mandarin clients. So yeah. So at the moment, it's English, French, and German, as far as I know.
Like for us, for the platform, there's different levels at which different languages are integrated. So part is, integrated directly into the platform. That's like system languages then. What you can always apply is, to use sort of like the browser translation that also works, and the chat has its own also translation, where we've also experimented then with languages beyond that. So working in Spanish, for example, working in Dutch, where it responds really well. But yeah, like you said, we always listen to what our users actually need and then build it with them.
Yeah, basically choosing languages based off of what users ask. And I'm gonna be real, also just based on languages I could speak and languages I had friends in. So you need some people to review the veracity of the translations. But once you structure things appropriately on the back end, adding new languages is not that hard, actually. So it's really just, if a user wants any language, no matter how infrequently spoken in the world, it would be very easy to add at this point.
I mean, again, Evidential doesn't have any large language model underpinning it, so we've not had to grapple with the language problem in the same way as the other platforms. At the moment, I mean, for the most part, more the platform is numbers, counts, plots, and setting up experiments. We have, but if and when we have a partner tell us that they would like for it to be available in a language that is not English, then we're very willing to build that in. But given that our primary, the people that we work with tend to be implementing partners who themselves are running interventions, we've not had a request yet to change language. If and when we do, we'll be very happy to implement it.
Same here. Certainly like demand-based. So you do it when you have to do it, when someone asks. I will say like this is where AI actually has been quite helpful. I remember like 10 years ago, you had to actually, call someone up or ask someone to come into the office and sit down and do the whole translations for the entire system, which can be quite a lot of work now. Now we start with AI and we do kind of a manual verification at the end, which is a lot more effective. So that's how we do it.
That is about all the time we have today. Give a round of applause to our presenters, and thank you so much for joining us.